I'm Katie Wilcox, and you're watching HNS Live. This is Bradford.
Hello.
My beautiful husband. He's going to be the eye candy on today's show. We're going to do some role reversals here, where the women are going to be fully dressed, and the men are going to be here for aesthetics.
Sort of dressed.
We're super excited about it. So we call this Casual Wednesday, where we had this outfit picked out, and we decided, screw it, we're just going with what we wore today. So I hope you enjoy it. We took a lot of time and effort picking it out this morning. So we have a great show. We wanted to start off by talking about a video we watched recently with model Cameron Russell on a TED Talk. So we loved this video, and we think there's so much here that girls should definitely take a look at. When it comes to modeling, there's lots of misconceptions, and I think she addressed it perfectly. And some of the things we wanted you guys to see really quickly is she showed pictures of her first modeling photo and her with her grandmother at that exact same age. Now take a look at that. That's such a great perspective for so many girls, because this is exactly what it is like. These are just young girls, and they don't look like this perfect image, but professionals are able to create that. So definitely pay attention to what goes on here, and I would highly suggest watching this video online. We've posted it on our Facebook page today, and you can also Google it. And I want to talk to our guest Emily later about some of these topics as well. But first, we have some HNS style. Let's take a look.
Okay, Shannon, so after watching that, I totally know how you feel. So on today's show, I found one outfit. I'm going to show you how to wear it 3 different ways. So hopefully when you go home, you'll be able to either rip those tags off or return the clothes to the store, okay?
Okay, I'm very excited.
All right, let's do this.
Let's go.
Okay, so what I did is I first started off with a suit, because most women in their closet have a suit, whether it be from, you know, like this is a cocktail suit that you could have worn to a party or something for work, because we could very easily use a jacket, use a skirt to turn it into other looks. So I'm going to take Shannon back to the dressing room again, and we're going to turn this into something new. Okay, for the second look, I kept the skirt and the tights and pretty much changed everything else. So I threw on this adorable owl print sweater, which is huge this season. We all hopefully have a sweater by now that has some kind of cute animal on it. And instead of the heels, I put on riding boots. So she has a much more casual outfit that she could run around town. I mean, let's be honest, who's running around town this cute, but we could all strive for it, right? All right, are you ready for one more look?
I am.
Okay, let's go for it. So this time we kept the jacket and the top we had before. We threw on a pair of skinny black jeans, bright blue shoes, and that's it. Okay, so it's just that easy. All right, thank you so much, Shannon, for being our model today. And for all of you out there, if you want to see more of my fashion tips on these beautiful natural models, follow my blog at healthyastheNewSkinny.com. And that's it for today's episode of HNS Style. I'm Kayla Farhang. Tune in next week.
All right, so we had a great segment with Shannon, and I'm here with Kayla. Shannon's so awesome. She's like the coolest girl ever. I love her. One of her main concerns was she also works a professional job, and she doesn't know how to piece things together, and she felt like she wears the same things all the time. So
exactly. And I feel like as women, we have, and I think men even do it as well, but specifically women, we organize our closet. We have the work section, we have our casual section, and then we have our going out section.
Right.
And rarely do we mix and match. And when you do that is when you could, you could triple your closet. You could grab a sparkly skirt from your going out section, and you could put a denim shirt with it, leggings and riding boot, and it's casual. You know?
It's so cool.
Yeah, it's just you have to think outside of the box a little bit.
Okay, perfect. So when it comes to putting the suit together, I loved what you did, because I wouldn't have picked that suit off the rack, but then when I saw how she wore it the different ways, I really liked it.
Right.
And so that's one thing I wanted to talk about. Like, are there key ways to wearing a suit the right way versus the wrong way? Like, how do you know what to pick?
Definitely. Okay, so I think there's a couple of things. First off, obviously you have to consider your environment. So she is a young professional. She works in the beauty industry. She works with makeup. So she could go for something a little more fun, you know? So that's why I found that skirt, which, as I've talked about and we'll continue to talk about, that fit and flare is great for so many body types, because it either hides your hips or creates them if you don't have it. So
I found myself saying that the other day, by the way. I was like, oh, fit and flare.
Yeah, exactly.
Kayla's fit
Trademark.
and flare. This is it.
Although I don't think I'm original. Anyways, but for me, before I was a stylist, I worked in the corporate world, and one of my favorite pieces to wear was a suit with a high-waisted pencil skirt. Again, that's something that looks good on every body type because the high waist makes your legs look incredibly long, and it's appropriate for a more formal business setting because it comes to your knees.
Right. So if I was in a short skirt right now, that would not be appropriate.
No, it would not be appropriate. Or even with her, you know, that skirt actually was pretty short, but we put an opaque tight with it.
Right.
So it was a little more conservative.
Okay, perfect. So do you have some pictures of do's and don'ts for us?
I do, and I wanted to because we showed 3 different ways to wear it. I wanted to look at even more ways to wear a blazer, and some ways maybe to stay away from.
Okay, let's check it out.
Okay, so it's kind of funny because I didn't know it was going to be Casual Wednesday today when I wore this, but I love, again, taking something from the work section of your closet, a blazer, like I think that's Katie Holmes, and Beyonce, and Jessica Simpson have done, and paired it with cutoff shorts and a cute pair of sneakers or
That's
Converse,
so cute.
or even like a small little kitten hill to run around town. So again, you're just getting the maximum use out of both sides of your closet. You know?
Perfect.
Yeah, let's take a look at the next one.
Okay. I can tell already.
Yeah.
This is a bad one.
Right. So, I mean, this is Whitney Port. She's super, super fashionable and always so cute. But in this, I mean, it looks like the jacket is owning her.
Right.
You know, there's something, we've probably all heard about the boyfriend blazer, and that's kind of an oversized blazer. And, you know, there's ways to wear it, but this one, it's really swallowing her entire figure, and it's doing her no favors. So that's definitely something you want to stay away from. And it's double-breasted, so
Right.
it makes her look like crazy wide, you know?
And she's really small.
And she's really small, yeah, and it's just not doing her any favors. So
Okay.
stay away from that.
Okay, perfect.
Let's see what else we got. Okay, so people often ask me, again, if you're taking a blazer from day to night, it's like, well, is it kind of sexy? What if I just leave it buttoned and, you know, I don't wear anything underneath it? Great idea in theory, but as Eva Longoria experienced on the Letterman show, blazers weren't meant for full
Right.
coverage.
You're
so
setting yourself up for a nip slip.
you're basically setting
Okay.
yourself up for a nip
So
slip.
stay away from the blazer with no shirt.
Yeah,
underneath.
get like a lacy camisole or something. That's still a sexy way to bring it into the evening for a more cocktail look, but it's dangerous territory when you start, you know.
Okay, well
going
then I
there.
guess I'm gonna have to reevaluate what I'm gonna wear on the next show. So now that you said that.
Yes, okay, good.
Okay, perfect. Well, we love having you in here, and I think these segments are awesome because I'm learning a lot, which is great.
well, good. That's
And
what
I
I'm here
really
for.
want the girls at home to get involved. Ask Kayla questions, write in. We're here. We're going to be doing these segments all the time, so
Yes.
feel free to send stuff in. And hey, you never know, we might need some new models. So
Exactly.
make
And if
sure
you
hit
guys
us up.
have outfits that you love that you want to send in as inspiration, that I get so much inspiration. I'll literally be driving and at a stoplight and like snap a photo of someone on an iPhoto because I like the way someone's put an outfit
Right.
together. So I love seeing what you guys are doing out there. So send me your photos, and if you have any question, you have an event you're going to or a job interview and you need to know what to wear, let me know and I'll throw an outfit together for you.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming, and I can't wait to see what we've got going next week. We've got some really good stuff, but I'm going to keep it a top secret until the time comes. Up next, we are going to hit the streets with Danika Brysha on the topic of Victoria's Secret models. So this was interesting going off of what we talked about earlier with Cameron Russell, who's a beautiful Victoria's Secret model. We wanted to know from girls and guys, how do Victoria's Secret models make you feel? Let's take a look.
Hey guys, it's Danika with HNS on the Streets, and today we are outside in Santa Monica, and we're going to talk to people about what they think about Victoria's Secret and the models that they choose to use. We're asking people what they think of Victoria's Secret models.
I just think they're unrealistic.
Yeah.
Unrealistic.
Yeah. My
Don't
mom
like
always
them.
calls them freaks of nature. Because it's
I
just,
mean, don't get me wrong, they're gorgeous.
yeah, but it's just not like right. Like people don't actually look like that in real life.
They're way too skinny.
Way too tall, skinny, push-up bra, tan.
Big boobs,
Rib cages.
like zero stomach, like legs that are like toothpicks. Tan.
What do they have?
Really
Perfect face.
Yeah. Skinny, like really skinny. And girly. Like they're all basically the same.
Unattainable, and they give us kind of a false image of what women should look like.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I'm never gonna be like that.
Are they too skinny? Yeah?
It's not hot to me.
I agree with that. And it's
That's
not
gonna be
something
my
else-
daughter. Now I'm 35 now. I still look at that. That girl is 16.
Victoria's Secret alone was one of the big reasons why I had so many issues with my body.
I'm my free. I'm never going to look like that. But, you know, I think it's hard when that's the message that that's kind of what you're supposed to do.
Everyone feels like they have to be like as skinny as parents. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you guys feel pressure from the media?
A lot. Yeah.
To be what?
To be really skinny and beautiful like that.
Danny, if I was a Victoria's Secret model, would you buy whatever I was selling? You would. That's great.
I would buy whatever she was selling.
If you could look like that, would you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Would you guys look like that if you could?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want me to be honest.
Yeah.
I would choose Adrian Lima probably. A year ago, yes, in a heartbeat. But at this point, I don't know. I just want to be a healthy, like, person for my own side.
There was a girl that I almost dated.
You date a lot of women,
I do.
D.
She was much younger than me.
D, I thought we had something.
Are we filming this?
28? No, we're not filming this. Do you think men truly prefer the Victoria's Secret body, or do you think that the media has taught them what they're supposed to like?
I think a lot of guys like women with different body sizes than the stick thin, you know, size whatever boobs. I think that that's more of a woman thing. I think that we all judge each other that way, but guys just like what they like. We just have to find them.
Do you think that that's men's ideal? Like,
No.
men?
No.
Do you think that's
All my guy friends are like, we all like girls with like meat on them, you know? Like, you don't want like some like girl that's not gonna eat or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it depends, but I think, you know, most guys don't like a super stick thin, skinny girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
Little meat on the bone.
You need a bigger woman, right? You need like a plus size model or something like that. You know, you think you can handle me? You don't. Oh, you couldn't handle me. I think I could handle you. Do you think that they should use women of different sizes at Victoria's Secret?
Only if there is a person like you are.
Oh, D.
And also
You're too
have
good
your,
to me.
Also have your
You're
dark.
too good
also
to
have
me.
your dark side.
Oh yeah.
Gotta have that dark
You told me you like-
undercurrent.
You told me you like brunettes. I'm like 5'5" earlier.
Change you up. We can change you up. Look at this. There you got it. We can change you up. We can always change your hair.
My hair. Because you know, in the 80s and 90s, they had like a curvier, more like healthier look.
It's really unhealthy. Like it changed like drastically in like a short amount of time, and I feel like before it was like more natural and like more people look like that. Like,
And
These
then,
type of women,
okay.
because these are fun, sexy, viable, passionate, intense, sensual women. Oh, I can't get it.
Thanks for joining us with HNS on the Streets. I'm your host, Danika, and we'll see you next week.
All right, there's so much to talk about here, and I think, you know, it was really interesting to see all those girls because they were so beautiful, all of them. That's what we kept saying, like, oh my gosh, these girls are so beautiful, and yet they were talking about all the things that they feel they need to be, and they're missing out on just how stunning they actually are, which was, you know, kind of like, oh, that's such a bummer because they're just amazing. And then on top of that, we got in the discussion earlier with Brad, and we're going to check in with him to see what is the guys' take on this. Do you think the girls are right when they say most guys don't necessarily want the body of what's portrayed in Victoria's Secret? What's your opinion on that?
I do agree with that actually, but you know, I have an issue with Victoria's Secret because when I went in there, they said I was a B cup, and clearly I'm a C cup. I mean, so you know, I need to talk to corporate about that. But no, in all honesty, everybody, I like to equate it like Baskin Robbins. It's 31 flavors for a reason. It's not Baskin Robbins one flavor. You don't go in there, it's just vanilla. Your friend might like strawberry, you might like chocolate, but you can't convince your friend that chocolate is the best when they like strawberry. I'm a curves guy, that's my flavor. Everybody has their own flavor, their own thing. You know, and it's kind of weird that like that's the only thing that guys really get to see in terms of, and are told of what is beautiful. Is this Victoria's Secret model, if you will. I find it interesting when I watch that video too, that like every time you ask the women and they say, oh no, I don't think most guys like thin, and I like the way I am, and blah, 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 they go on and on and on. And at the end, you say, well, would you like to still look like a Victoria's Secret model? And then immediately they go, yes, I would.
Well, and that's the thing too, you asked me that, and I had to take a moment and go, yeah, well, and I had to think about it because it's so ingrained in our heads that that's like the ultimate beauty, that you know it's not realistic, but we were saying it's almost like saying, yeah, it'd be awesome to have a unicorn as a pet. Like, it's not realistic, so it's not even something, a conversation you can have, but yet, you know, for those girls, they still want to look that way because that's what's considered the most beautiful thing. Like that's the highest of high when it comes to models too.
You're the hottest chick I've ever seen in my life. I can't even hear what you're saying
Oh
right
my
now. Screw that whole Victoria's Secret thing, man. I got my own Victoria's Secret model. You know, and then the last thing too, what's interesting is that is the standard. Now, if you ask a guy, if you just poll guys, which we're going to do next week, I'm excited to see this. I want to know what the ideal kind of standard for a guy is. It's interesting because some guys might tell you, oh, I want to look like the singer from Coldplay, or some people might say, oh, I want to look like Brad Pitt or George Clooney or The Rock I mean, it's all over the board. I would, you know, I'm cool with the way that I am. I don't necessarily want to look like anybody, but it's interesting that like women all go towards either that kind of the Angelina Jolie, Victoria's Secret style. I mean, what's your thought on that, Bae?
I agree. I think it's like you only get this one narrow idea of what's beautiful, and those are the only women that reach that level of success that are portrayed as beautiful. So it's kind of like the culture sets us up to think that. And I want to definitely get Emily's opinion on this. So I want to introduce you to our guest today. This is a beautiful model with Natural Models, Emily Seawinder. So welcome to the show, Emily.
Hi, guys.
I'm so excited. You're our first model that we're doing like an in-depth interview with, to follow from the beginning, where it all started to where you're at now. Yeah. But just going off of that video, like what do you think about those girls and them saying, yeah, I would still want to look like a Victoria's Secret model, even though I know it's not realistic?
Well, I think the problem is that we're really programmed to believe that's what beauty is.
Yeah.
We're almost brainwashed by all of these images that keep getting reinforced about, you know, this is the stereotype of what a beautiful woman is supposed to look like.
Yeah.
So whether or not when a man is at home, whether he likes the feel of that kind of body type, he may not, but because it's reinforced in the media, men say they like Victoria's Secret women, women want to be like them, you know, and that's the standard. It's exactly as you said, you know.
What do you think about Karlie Kloss? So Karlie Kloss is a high fashion model. She's one of the top models right now, and she's a runway girl and was featured in Vogue Italia, and her photos were removed for thinspiration. So that's interesting because then that same year she was a Victoria's Secret model. So how does Victoria's Secret go from like sexy, voluptuous, curvy to runway skinny? It's like such an extreme change.
Well, but that's a huge myth, because what a lot of people don't know is that those women are airbrushed to look fuller, and if you saw them in person walking down the street, you'd think they might be anorexic or have some kind of eating disorder. It does not look healthy in person, but you know, because of all the technology associated with airbrushing,
they take out the bones.
They get to look fuller. You don't see the bones. They look healthy and beautiful. And that's just not the reality. It's not a real image. It's like a unicorn. Not real.
Very cool, but not real.
Exactly.
Wait, unicorns aren't real?
No, they're not.
What?
I know. It's sad. Well, that's exactly what I want to start to talk about with you. Yeah. So how long have you been a model?
Gosh, I've been a model 16 years now.
Okay. So what was it like for you? Where did you grow up and how did this all begin?
So I grew up in Sydney, Australia. That's where I was scouted. I was going to my grandma's house, delivering flowers for her birthday, hiding behind a big bouquet.
Yeah.
And kind of typical story, I think. Had a photographer come up and approach me, give me his business card. And that was it. I called and set up a photo shoot with him. And, you know, the next thing I know, I'm shooting 8 pages in Elle magazine a couple months later. And wait, so how does that even happen? Like, let's go back to when you're like delivering flowers. Yes.
Like when you were, before you got scouted, what do you remember about just being a happy girl, like a little kid? Like what are some of your best memories before modeling ever came into the picture?
Well, you know, growing up in Sydney, Australia, we, you know, spent a lot of time at the beach. So that was, you know, going rock climbing in the sun, you know, eating good food, barbecuing. It was, you know, a really great life. I had a very big kind of imagination and imaginative side, and you know, I'd go play in the park and get dirty, and I loved my boy cousins. And, you know, that was me. I never really gave beauty a second thought. It wasn't, you know, I loved to play sports and do gymnastics, and it wasn't something I'd ever thought about.
So you weren't like had this goal of being a model. That was something that came out of completely left field. You're just on your way to your grandma's house.
Yes, I mean, I was a little string bean. I, you know, was 14 years old. I hadn't hit puberty yet. I'd get teased by boys for stuffing my bra with tissues. I even had a boy come and pull them out one day out of my tank top, which was hugely embarrassing, as you can imagine. And you know, it wasn't something I ever thought I could do or really aspired to do at that time.
Okay, well, I want to take a look because I think we have a picture early on in your modeling career. So let's take a look at some of these shots and we can reflect on those. So that was for the Elle magazine, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're 14 years old?
14 years old, yep.
That is crazy. So, and is this the same time frame?
This is probably a year later. That was a shoot in Palm Desert.
So 15-year-old kid.
15 years old, yeah.
Okay. That's, all right. If that doesn't put it into perspective, I don't know what else does, you know? And I think that's kind of what we were saying is people look at those pictures and you are sexualized because you look like you're in your 20s and it's this sexy girl in a crop top, full makeup and hair, but you're actually in what you would be in junior high school.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so explain to us how does that affect your 14-year-old mind?
God, well, you know, I remember very early on having to, you know, you go to a photo shoot and they just expect you to start getting changed and nudity, you become very desensitized to nudity. You know, I was always very protective and self-conscious as a, you know, young teenager, and you get used to just having to clothes come on and off, and there are grown men around you who may or may not find you attractive, and you just sort of have to deal with it. And, you know, I think probably the biggest problem with sexualizing, you know, young girls that way is that you learn acceptance. You know, you learn that, oh, this is how I get acceptance from boys, and you know, it's a really pivotal age where you're starting to explore your own sexuality usually. You're wanting to have a boyfriend, you're wanting that acceptance, and, you know, having those kind of pictures and the response you get from them just reinforces that.
And that's so funny that you say that because we talk about now, like I was just at the store the other day and I was in the junior section, we were walking by and I saw these shorts and they were like the tiniest booty shorts ever. And I was going, oh my God, like I'm already turning into like the mom who's like, my kid will never wear these. But we see these girls who are so unaware of like, they just feel that's how their idols dress and that's what the pictures they see in the magazines. And so they dress that way. And it's definitely more unaware of their body. And so I think that's such an interesting point that it's idolized to be like, yeah, have your butt hanging out and show the goods because that's the attention that you're going to get. But it's kind of true.
Exactly. Rather than the message being reinforced that, you know, it's about who you are on the inside. You know, it's the old adage goes.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's, you know, you're forced to kind of show it all on the outside and get that physical attention.
So when that started to happen, I know you are a rebellious spirit.
Yes, I am.
She is a wild child. So tell us a little bit about that. So having the freedom that comes with being a model, making a lot of money, not having that many responsibilities outside of work. What does that do to someone who is wild?
God,
and let's get into the stories of when you went to Asia.
Yes.
All right.
So, 14 years old, I went to Tokyo for 6 weeks by myself. Let's just talk about the flight over there. Start with that. In the back of the plane, this is when on Japan Airlines you could still smoke, and me being the rebellious 14-year-old, I'm smoking back there, I'd stolen all the minis, you know, got drunk at 30,000 feet and passed out in the back of the plane. I'm not really sure why that was acceptable, you know, as a 14-year-old.
That's
to
insane.
Fly there by myself and, you know, to not be chaperoned and to be, you know, in an industry at that age and have to make decisions and be sent on jobs and really take on that responsibility. It was a very precarious time, and I think looking back, I'm really lucky that nothing really terrible ever happened to me.
Because do you think that yourself at 14, do you think you're capable of making good decisions?
No, absolutely not. I look back and I must have had a guardian angel or somebody looking over me because there were situations that could have gone awfully wrong, and I don't know how they didn't, but for any 14-year-old, it doesn't matter if you're a model or not, there needs to be some parental guidance there.
Do you remember any specific situations that you were in that you look back now and are a little bit horrified that no one was there to protect you? Because this is something we want people to know. There is no one protecting models. There's not a union. So if you're an actor and you're under the age of 18, you have to have someone there with you on set that makes sure you don't work too much, there's no nudity, there's nothing inappropriate,
Right.
you're protected by the union. So for models, we don't have that. So you're kind of hoping that your parents are there, but at the same time, parents don't have the education on what's acceptable or know what's going on either too, and not all parents are awesome parents. So we have to play with that too. So it's interesting that I think so many girls find themselves in these situations, but has there ever been a time where there were just inappropriate conduct from a photographer, from industry people that should never have happened to someone that's your age?
Well, I think the biggest thing, you know, nobody ever came on to me in a really, really bad way, but I think on every shoot, this kind of nudity thing and being put in clothes that you may not be comfortable in. At 14 years old, I was not comfortable in my own body at all. And being put in clothes, you don't have an opinion. You don't get to say, I'm not comfortable in this, I want to take it off.
Right.
You just have to be put in it, and the photographer or whoever's styling the shoot, they have all the power, and you have to go with it, whether you feel good or not.
What does that do to you, knowing that you have no voice and you have no say and you are just a face?
God, that's a throwback to, you know, some horrible photo shoots that I've had. One in particular where I was a French photographer, and it was for a very reputable English brand. And I remember the photographer there was no kind of sexualization or anything, but he said, "All right, Thunder Thighs, up on the bike." Well, I had to get on a motorcycle, and I think just the way that they can speak to you, you're already put under a microscope. You know, the whole essence of the fashion industry, modeling, it's physicality. You know, it's about how you look. You're being judged purely on how you look. There's nothing about your soul or your essence or what you bring to the table other than how does she look. And I think it's hugely detrimental because that is where your value is placed. And regardless of whether you're Gisele Bündchen or the most successful model on the planet, I think it has a negative effect.
You still feel that now?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, it's funny because I had a photographer on my very first job in New York. I thought I was going to get murdered in the taxi because I've never been to New York. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to die. Like, where am I going? But he told me I had a football field between my eyes and my eyebrows. And I was like, I don't know what that means. And my mom asked me, like, how did it go? Because she had to work, so she couldn't go with me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. Like, he said I had a football field between my eyes and my eyebrows. And she's like, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I'm like, I don't know. I'm assuming it's a bad thing, but it's little things like that that I still remember. And I think that's what every girl needs to understand, that this is not just like this glamorous, fun life. Like, these are a lot of lifelong issues that girls go through. So tell us what happened when things got a little bit too out of control for you and when your dad stepped in.
Oh, okay. So I was a 16-year-old. My parents, somehow the agency convinced them that I was okay to go to Tokyo and go to New York and go to LA. And I was living in Australia up until 15. That's when I moved. So I was taking all these international trips and kind of running around the city and, you know, doing a lot of inappropriate things and experimenting with drugs. And I think, you know, the sexualization of modeling definitely played a part in all of that. In just having the emphasis be on sort of how you look. It's then comes into play all of kind of the drug use and the recreational stuff, and it sort of seems okay. But so at 16 years old, my dad, unbeknownst to me, decided that he was gonna take me out of this whole world of modeling and everything else I knew, and sent me to Idaho for a month, hiking.
We have a picture. So let's hold the picture of her with the pack on. There you are.
Go.
Okay,
yeah, that was at the end. That was graduation.
That's pretty amazing. So what was that like?
Oh, it was like nothing I'd ever experienced.
And you were telling me, you were like,
at the same time.
Where the hell am I?
I had no idea where I was. I'm like, I am privileged. I am. You guys don't know who I am.
Better than everybody.
To go to Paris tomorrow for the Evian campaign. You know, I was beside myself.
You're a monster.
Yeah, really. So, you know, it was a wonderful experience because it broke down a lot of the barriers and the issues that I had kind of built up, the walls I had built up, defense mechanisms, and, you know, made me really evaluate myself as a person and look at, or at least start to look at you know, what is really important? What should you place value on, and what shouldn't you place value on? And that lasted for about a month. And after I finished in Idaho, I begged my dad to come home, and he said, no, I've got some other plans for you. So I went to a boarding school for 2 years, and that was in Northern California, and had no connection to TV, magazines, nothing. And it was a really great kind of extension of the wilderness program, and get back to basics and kind of rebuild yourself back up again.
So when it comes to modeling after you found a healthy place,
yes,
let's talk a little bit about that, and then where you're at now.
Yeah. Well, it's taken 10 years to really get there, and I, at 19 years old, I tried to model again and wasn't quite the right size, had, gone through puberty and was a lot bigger, and the response I got from my mother agent and agency who loved me at 14.
What size? What size were you when you said a lot bigger?
Probably a 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're 5'10".
Yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't, they basically rejected me. And that was, hugely detrimental to what I thought about myself. And so I went on hiatus. I thought, you know what, this is harming me and my soul and who I am, and I don't want to be a part of this. So I went on hiatus for, 8 years, and then have kind of come back into it now as a more healthy, level-headed person who, I want to be able to help other people and educate and, model at the same time as somebody who is a normal size, relatively normal.
I want to take a look at some of her recent shots that Bradford actually shot at our studio. So these are some of her recent modeling pictures. Let's take a look. They're beautiful.
Beautiful.
So when you look at this girl versus your 14-year-old self, what do you see?
This is really me. I see my real essence. I see my conviction. I see strength and power. I see how complex I am. I mean, all of the pictures, he captured so many different aspects of me, and I love that because I like to think I'm kind of multifaceted and multidimensional. And I, really wanted that to come through, and I'm really proud of those pictures.
Do you still struggle to feel beautiful?
Absolutely, every day.
When I was shooting those pictures, we were just randomly talking as I was shooting, and I could kind of feel a slight insecurity in her when I was shooting, and I'm like, I'm not trying to be creepy, but I'm like, your body's ridiculous. Like, it's unbelievable. I don't even know how that's possible, And
it's amazing.
And she was just kind of like, yeah, I know, but I'm just trying to work on this, and I'm going, I think 9.9 out of 10 girls would want to look like you, and she's just kind of like, really?
But I do want to talk about that.
Yeah, talk
what
about that.
You just said, how does that make you feel to know, as models, with everything so internal of you're so consumed with how you're not looking how you need to look, and you're under a microscope. But when you take a moment to know that the way you look, another girl is thinking, oh my God, she's so beautiful. I wish I looked like her, and that actually makes her feel bad.
Right.
It's such a weird thing as a model and being idolized for your beauty, like you said, because it's not attached to who you are on the inside, and to know that causes girls to not feel good about themselves. It's like a really horrible, vicious cycle, because even you don't feel as beautiful as they think you look.
Right.
Which is bizarre. How do you kind of work through that thought process?
Well, I think it's great that you say that, because I think we do spend so much time in our own heads, criticizing ourselves, but really in the big picture where we are beautiful and we're privileged, and we've kind of won the genetics jackpot, as Cameron Russell says.
Yeah.
And I think it just really puts things in perspective, and for me, it makes me appreciate everything I have.
And to constantly think that every day, to go, I'm going to remind myself. And I think that's what we really want girls to know, is that it doesn't stop. It's not like there's a day where you just go, oh, I'm better now, and I'm healed. You're like, no, you really have to do the work every single day.
Yep.
And I think surrounding yourself with other women that are doing the work on their own part and supporting you and the work you're doing is the goal for all of us, which is why we have HNS. But is there a message that you want to leave the girls watching at home?
I just think that it's really important to value yourself and know that we're all special in our own way. Some people may be more or less physically beautiful, you know, according to the status quo, but everybody has something of value to add. And, you know, we have to support each other and unite in doing so and valuing each other and seeing how everyone is great. And I think, just as you said, that's the only way to do it, is to support each other as women, and this is why the HNS mission is so important globally.
Do you think that it can happen?
Yes, 100%. We're changing the world. We're changing the world. That's it. It's the only way.
You know, it's so crazy because even just the girls that get involved, like I think there's almost a stigma a little bit at first of like, I don't know if I should say some of the stuff I'm gonna say because it's very hush-hush, like don't talk about what really goes on. And I think like hopefully together we can start to break down those walls where more models start to say, hey, like, you know what, they're right. Like if I'm gonna choose to support something with my image, that's what I wanna support. I wanna use my beauty for something good that's gonna inspire women to be better instead of to feel worse.
Well, and at the end of the day, physical beauty fades. And what are you left with?
Absolutely.
So
I think we can end on that note. That's exactly it. And you know, I think that so many girls are gonna get so much from your story, and I'm excited to have you on as an HNS blogger. So make sure you look for Emily's blog. She's going to be kind of talking about these struggles, and she just had a really interesting thing happen on a job. That included Photoshop being her smaller. So she's going to be writing about that, and we want to share that with all of you. So make sure you write us questions, stay tuned, check out some of our new bloggers, and I really hope that you enjoyed meeting Emily, and we'll see you guys next week.